Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Day 558, 9:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4:01 a.m. in Ukraine. Also, Labor Day here in the United States, where it's a holiday. So, hope you guys that are here in the U.S. had a nice Labor Day, which is typically the time we spend with family, and thankful for American workers and economics and all that jazz. So, we are very thankful for those of you that work, and as we all do, to labor to make our country better. So thank you. Tonight, a lot of stuff. And yes, I'm convinced tonight that one picture tells the story of this entire war. And of course, that's the name of the program. Let me welcome some folks here. Cinnamon, Roland, traveling, welcome. Blessings to you up there in Canada. LWD Farm. Hello, Mr. Terry. Beautiful profile pic there. Canada as well. Look at this. Got all kind of flags going on. Of course, it doesn't always show them. Jeremy Teeple, bless you, brother. Granddaughter living with you. God bless you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Pat Schoaf down there in Greensburg. That's Pennsylvania. Forest Hill, California. One of our moderators, Jeffrey Burnett. Thank you as always. This is going to be Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Good evening, all. Blessed to PG and your upcoming trips. Prayers continually. Speaking of upcoming trips, I did give my confirmation today, and on the 12th of September, 8 days, I will be attending the state dinner there in Washington, D.C., and then on the 13th, I'm invited to be in all of their forums talking about the war, about helping people, about the things that we do. So I'm going to represent you guys well. That's unfolding. And then I roll straight to California. But we'll be here. We'll be here even if we're on the road. Lynn, down there in Virginia. Harold, you legend. Skeghead. I've got all this memorized. Australia, my friend. JDO, another one of our moderators. Thank you, sir, for all you do. San Jose, California, Chunk Pinkham. Warrior Jack Lee. Welcome to you. Cheers from Curitiba, Brazil, brothers. Welcome to you, my friend. Joey Boy, welcome to you. I got you, brother. Australia. Seen statistics, Ukraine knocked out 37 tanks in one day. It's possible, for sure. Larry and Debbie here. I was seeing them today. They are actually leaving tomorrow for Finland, and they'll be in Estonia. They're going to be all those places. And remember, I'm going to try to get an Estonian on here chatting with us. Mark McLaren, always across the pond. Welcome to you. So, guys, we're going to jump right into it. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for helping us to make this happen. We couldn't do it without you. Make sure you've subscribed, have the notification bell on, and away we go. Russia rolling some troops in, but there's some other things going on here. So I'm going to show you what's happening. We're starting with that. So the piece of the map you're looking at there, I'm going to show you where it is. I'll go into the big map and I'll show you. So on that image, we are zoomed in to northeastern Ukraine, east of Kharkiv, and this is the area, as you can see represented in the gold, that Russia is making their strongest advances, and they're pushing for Kupiansk, and they're also pushing for Liman, which is down here. This is their offensive. Now, if I go to this map, that is the zoomed in view for you. So the little red arrows, Russia's current, they're not calling it an offensive, but they are being offensive. In fact, Molyar today, one of the associate foreign ministers or defense ministers for Ukraine, came out and said, we see and are expecting soon a full offensive from the Russian military right here in this region, in the Kupiansk region. Additionally, the troops that have been rotated in from Belarus are now starting to arrive in this region. So they're reinforcing here. Now, one of the reasons that Russia had to reinforce this region is not only for the push that they want to do, but also because this is the Bakhmut area. And over the last couple of days, Ukraine at the Blue Arrow has been making a good push. They've taken back a few square kilometers south of Bakhmut. It really doesn't affect the Bakhmut battle, but it's south of Bakhmut. It's to the point where Russia had to rotate some troops down into this entire Bakhmut region to bring support to it. So basically, they're taking some northern troops out of Kupiansk and they're rolling them down to Bakhmut. And they're reinforcing Kupiansk with soldiers from the Belarus rotation. So that's where we're at on that. Good evening from Vegas, baby. Carlo, well, welcome to you. Momoto, welcome to you. Russian General Shoigu signed a new mobilization of 200,000 soldiers. Yes, he did. And I'm actually going to show you the document in just a few moments. You're right on top of it. I'd be interested in any thoughts on the dismissal of Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov. You will get them, and you will get commentary from Zhenya tonight on that. That's a big deal, and we're going to make it straight for everybody. So going to cover that one as well. You guys are awesome. Now, Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant down in the south. The IAEA does have a few monitors that are there. I don't really understand how they function, watching what they do with the Russian military there, but they rotate out. So the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, reported today that when they did their rotation out and brought in fresh IAEA, that in the amount of time, and I don't know what it was, whether it's 24 hours, 48 hours, for sure, it's not 2, 3, 4 hours. You're not rotating out of Energodar in 4 hours. You're going to go through enough red tape to float a battleship, but probably a day or two. They had documented all the mining on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and the mining on the access road to where they come in and depart. By the time the new IAEA guys rotated in, their mining numbers did not line up with the first crew. So they are confident that in the amount of time it took for that rotation to happen, where fresh guys were coming in, Russia had taken that opportunity to sling some more mines down, not only on the plant proper, but also on the roadway access, because the IAEA was not there watching. This, my friends, is Kramatorsk. This is a city that we base in a lot. I've driven right down that road. For you guys that do not know where this is on this circle over here outside Bakhmut. And very key area. Let me come back just a little bit. So this is the circle road we talk about. This is the E40. Runs from Bakhmut down to Donetsk and runs all the way up to Kharkiv. But you have Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, Druzhkivka, Konstantinivka. And then as you roll into Bakhmut, Chasiv Yar, and also Ivanivsky, and you come into the Bakhmut area. So this is Kramatorsk. Kramatorsk was hit very hard with MLRS shelling and S-300s and missiles, and they were actually slinging them at apartment buildings. They did hit some, no deaths, but there was quite a few duds that landed. And this is a real picture of the dud. Let's see. Yeah, that one right there. So just see this guy probably driving to work. You just driving on by a missile. Now, what Ukraine noticed in this attack, and this attack took place Sunday night, was a majority of the incoming munitions did not explode. That's one reason we did not have a major catastrophe. Like, they slammed a lot of systems into these buildings, but they didn't explode. So the question is, were they all duds? Because they do have, everybody has duds. Russia has a lot of them, but were they all duds? Were they fired that way on purpose? Or what's the story? And the truth is, nobody knows. But I can tell you right now, unless what they call, Ukraine calls them, are the sappers. That's the local terminology. Unless the sappers have come and removed that, it's still there, because it takes special guys to move that. Selfies next to that thing have been funny. There's no question about that. You all see the article for the European policy, Ukraine victory is closer than you think. I hope so, my friend. I hope so. EOD guys, the sappers. So that's Kramatorsk. We spent a lot of time there. It's one of our base cities. This is Rennie. Rennie's hit hard, and this is an interesting story, actually. If I come down, just for those of you that are new, we're talking about all the way down, not anywhere near the occupied zone, but actually the very southern tip of Ukraine down here, where most people do not know it even exists. You come in, and here you have Rennie. It's right here on the Danube River. So it was hit very, very hard with shaheeds. And tonight I'm going to give you an update on the shaheeds, and I know we're accurate, but Rennie hit hard. And here's the interesting thing. Russia hit very strongly grain storages and port infrastructure and a fuel truck convoy right here. These are all pictures from Rennie. Now, here's what's interesting about this. This was hit. Fuel truck convoy, okay, understand. Grain and port. We're going to talk about this in a moment. It's the key point of tonight's update, but we do realize that Putin and Erdogan were supposed to be talking about the grain deal today in Sochi. President Putin hosted President Erdogan. And this is what you do prior to that meeting. Therefore, we can understand that meeting was irrelevant. The position is clear, Russia's view on the ports and on grain export. And in fact, in a moment, I'm going to play for you Putler, and you will hear from him specifically. So that's Rennie just going after it. I heard the grain deal may not happen. Brother, it's not happening. And you'll see why in just a few minutes. Well, let me say it this way. For a grain deal to be agreed upon, the world will have to bow to the Kremlin's guidelines for the grain deal, or there will be no grain deal. So it's not going to happen. I'll update you on that in just a minute. Now, this attack right here in Rennie, this. In fact, let me do this here. Let's go to this. And I just want you guys to understand how dangerous this is. So let me zoom out where you can see. So past the roads. So right here, right there, where the Ukrainian tip comes down and the three nations come together, which is Ukraine, Romania, and Moldova. Right in that tip. And folks, Galati here in Romania is a nice sized city, but right across the river is Rennie. Now this is the Danube. So this side of the river, it's called the right bank, is Romania. Ukraine has confirmed, they've put video out. Dmitry Kuleba, the foreign minister, even said himself, 100% a deflected drone went on to Romanian sovereign territory, which is NATO, and exploded. And this is one of the pictures that they give. It's across the river. So last night, Shahid attack on the Odessa region resulted in explosions in Romania. It's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Dmitry Kuleba. So, also, one of his associates, Oleg Nikolenko, asked Ukraine's allies to please speed up the provision of air defense. And here's what's interesting. Romania's defense ministry said that Russian drones did not pose any direct military threat. Now, if I go back to here, you'll understand that. Somewhere right in this forested region, there is a road here, but there's no homes, there's no buildings, it's a farm, it's farmland. That it hit here. So, yes, he's right. There was no direct military threat, and I know Romanians know this. That's why I'm a little confused why they did this, but A, they denied it. And then B, they came back and said it didn't pose a direct military threat. So let's interpret how the Kremlin looks at that. We just had one of our Shaheeds deflected, landed on NATO sovereign territory, and exploded. And the world doesn't even say one word to us. In fact, Ukraine is the only nation screaming that our stuff is landing in NATO, on NATO sovereign territory, Romania. And even the Romanian leadership is saying, no foul, no harm. Folks, this is the slow game that Vladimir Putin plays. No, it did not just put the Shaheed on Romania. It was a deflection. Even Ukraine says that. Yet, can NATO even say, or Romania stand up and say, don't you even think about putting any drone or missile anywhere along this river on either side? Why doesn't Romania roll in a little air defense and say, don't do it again? It's correct. It's money. Romanian exports and imports continue and go on. That's the truth. But this is why I'm concerned, and I think it was Carl said that EU thing predicting a victory. So, listen, I'm all for the victory at 100%, as you guys know, major support. But it's a little bit more complicated than I think folks understand, and we're going to get into that a little bit more. Odessa, over the last 48 hours, 2 different attacks. Sunday, 25 Shaheed drones were fired at Odessa region, hitting grain and administrative facilities. That's 4 different images there. 17 were taken out of the air. 8 hit their targets. And remember, unless the 17 are just completely destroyed in the air, you're still getting that deflection, or at the minimum, you're still going to get trash falling to the ground. So, but 17 destroyed, 8 hit their targets. So the question I have is, how many Shaheeds do they have? This morning, September the 4th, 32 drones fired at Odessa and Dnipro. 23 were taken out. If I do the math, 25 and 32, 57, and 40 taken out of the air. So 40 taken out, 17 hit. Remember, listen, we have to analyze just a little bit. The drone's hitting Rainey. One of the deputy defense ministers comes out and says, please, we need more air defense. I'm confident they're running low. I'm telling you, they're running low. So we'll see, but this is a lot. Now, I will also tell you that over the last 48 hours, Russia received a new batch of Shaheeds from Iran. And folks, I'm having to look this up, but supposedly, and maybe some of you guys know, but October the 18th will end one of the sanction deals against Iran, where it will free them to export and import missiles and missile parts again. Not that they're not already doing it with Russia, but there's a lot of things happening over the next 60 days. Of course, Russia making their own. They have their factory. There's also a factory being converted in Belarus. They have a lot of them. That's the answer to that question. Shoigu, today, here is the document. If you look at it, it says prikaz. So this is the official document. And the second line says Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, Ministra Obrony Rossiyskiej Federacji. Ministry of Defense, Russian Federation. Below that, it is dated the 4th of September, 2023. It's official document number 463, and it's drafted and written in Moscow. It then goes through it. Now, I won't read the rest of that, but I'll tell you what it says. It says that beginning September the 11th, in 7 days, and being concluded by November the 1st, Russia will have a conscription of 200,000 new soldiers. Now, that's in addition to some other things that are happening. Folks, they're not going anywhere. This is confirmed. Russian army actively recruiting soldiers from the east. This is confirmed first by Ukraine, but secondly, MI6 came out, British intelligence came out with it today and said, listen, this stuff's really happening. So there are 6 million migrants in Central Asia that are in the Russian Federation. And you may say, okay, where are they all at? So let me scroll this map back here, and we're talking about, here's Ukraine right here. We have to go way over here, guys. It's just massive. These regions right here, north of Mongolia, remember Buryatia, Irkutsk. So it's not just native Russians there, but a lot of migrants come through from Central Asia trying to come to Russia to have a better life. So in that region right here, active recruitment is taking place, and conscription will take place. It doesn't matter. They'll bring them across, take their passports, and put them in the army. Also, active advertisements are ongoing for the Russian army in Armenia and Kazakhstan. A sign-up offer of $5,000. You get a $5,000 sign-on bonus, and then a $2,000 a month salary. Additionally, Mariupol is being rebuilt by the Russian Federation. You've seen pictures of that. I've shown you that they're building these new buildings. They destroyed the buildings they destroyed. Uzbeki companies are doing that. Employees from Uzbekistan. And Russia is taking some of them, pulling their passports, and putting them right in the army. So is it cannon fodder? Of course it is. But it's a lot of bodies. And that's one of the key issues, actually, Zhenya and I were talking about today, and you're going to hear from him in just a moment. But Ukraine ultimately has a limit on people. Now, this happened today. Kiev makes a serious move on their conscription. So you see how these things are working together? They are. Shoigu, they've got it going on. And out east, all throughout Central Russia. Remember, that swath in the west, not really been touched yet. And that's where you're more trained. The guys that have been in military, now in business society or reserves, they're not there yet. It's the east. The Verkhovna Rada, which is basically the parliament there in Kiev, put in a law prohibiting men who obtain a secondary education, meaning many people finish their college education in Ukraine about at 21 years of age, because typically they're going into college about at 17 or 18 and they're done. Then they go into business. So what's been happening is that many young men, 25, 28, 30, 32, 35, have been re-enrolling in college, going for a second bachelor's or moving for a master's degree. And up until today, that exempted them from military service because they were going for education. Now that's over. Deputy, like a Senator, Fedir Venislavsky, he was stating students began to abuse this loophole, and he gave some numbers. In 2019, 40,000 students aged 25 plus. In 2022, 106,000 students, men aged 25 and plus. And then he gave this quote over on the blue, and I thought it was interesting. He said, "Thirst for knowledge can be quenched after victory." You know, I can tell you, driving around Ukraine a lot, it was many times you just get a little frustrated because you would see some parts of Ukraine, which they should, trying to retain normalcy, like in the West and center. And you go to the East where the war was raging, and it was literally like night and day. And Ukraine knows that's an issue. Remember, I give you the truth about Ukraine. We support 1,000,000%, but we tell you the truth. And the truth is a lot of frustrated Ukrainians on the front line fighting the battles. Frustrated because many, many young men who should be standing up for their country, A, either fled the country, or B, pushing loopholes or buying their way out. Well, I'm telling you, it's coming to an end because Ukraine only has X amount. Russia will keep buying soldiers. That's what they'll do. They don't mind losing a little bit of ground in the south. It's very good for Ukraine, and hopefully we finish it and take full advantage of it. But they don't mind. They'll just deal with it, send more cannon fodder in until Ukraine's wore out. So this is where we're at with the conscription on both sides. Reznikov. You guys have a question about Reznikov. So I'm going to tell you the truth, and then you're going to hear from Zhenya. So Reznikov resigned. Now, was it a forced resignation? Now, you may ask, who is Reznikov? Reznikov was the defense minister, the top dog. Now, over the last few months, there has been a accusation that the defense ministry made a major mistake on the purchase of military equipment, specifically coats. And we're talking about millions and millions and millions of hryvnia and millions of dollars. So the fall guy for this, and they were going after him so hard. I'm here to tell you tonight, this is a good man. Do not believe whatever you read, anybody that's trashing him. He's a good man. He's not a thief. He's not a bandit. I'm telling you, I know 100%. So I knew he was moving out. I did tell you he would resign. He actually wanted to leave months ago because, listen, he's a grandpa and a good man. And day 558 of this war, anybody's going to reach their limit, you know, especially when you're older. Zelensky's in his 40s. He's young. He's going nonstop. But Reznikov, this was it. So when that controversy started stirring up, everybody's running with the stories. Well, they're stealing, they're doing this, whatever, which just pushes that agenda for the world to say, see how corrupt Ukraine is? We can't support them. Folks, it's not that way. The corruption that is in Ukraine over the last 3 to 4 months specifically, Kiev, Zelensky himself, every day in his evening speech says, we're cleaning our country. We're fighting the corruption. We're fighting against, the wrong perception. We're not bandits. We're not Soviets. We're not communists. We're not living in that system, and they're cleaning it. I've reported to you almost nightly the different places where they're busting these people and they're putting them in jail. Now, Reznikov is not going to jail. He, at Zelensky's request, resigned. Now, this man is now one of the forerunners, one of the front runners to be the next ambassador to Great Britain. See? I read otherwise, that he's a good man and he would be a great ambassador in the UK for Ukraine. Yeah, I'm telling you the inside story. They were going after him. Yes, Mark McLaren, great point there on the previous topic. Poland's begun extraditing military-aged men illegally left Ukraine during martial law. That is correct. And I cross that Polish border all the time. It's a tough one, and it's getting tougher. So that's his letter, and the letter's beautiful. And at the end of it, we're all one family, one team. Slava Ukraina, glory to Ukraine. Defense Minister of Ukraine, and he signs it, Alexei Reznikov. So that's the story. President Zelensky made this statement. He said, I decided to replace the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, quote, and most likely being replaced with Rustom Umerov. And he's a Tatar and good relations everywhere. It's a good choice. Younger, much, much younger. He stated that the Ministry of Defense needs new approaches and a fresh outlook, new methods of interaction, both with the military and society as a whole. And I remind you, we're in day 558. President Zelensky did a good job dealing with this. Inside Ukraine, this was a major nasty story. And most of it that they were talking about was just rumors and lies. And they just blamed everything on Reznikov. It just wasn't that way. So this is the way out. Reznikov resigns. Zelensky says, I replace him. And most likely, Reznikov will be the ambassador of Ukraine to Great Britain. So that's the story on him. Now, I've got Zhenya here tonight telling his two-piece.
Good evening. When it comes to decision about Reznikov, I believe the only Zelensky knows all the details and the reason and why he makes this decision to move Reznikov. As I know, that last month, maybe two, there were a couple unpleasant situation for Ukraine in a Ministry of Defense and in the area of buying stuff and for army. And some people there, they did, let's say, wrong. And praise God, we have this transparency and the media have access to almost everything now, like what is possible to have access to. And they did open it and they showed it and they pointed at this. And so what we got, so an investigation started and they found out a couple things which was wrong. And I think it's one of the reasons is to show that Ukraine are getting it serious and control every centime and everything, what is using and spending for the army. It's one side. The other side, the Umerov seems to me it's a new name, candidate for the same position, and he's experienced man as well. And I mean, the history, previous experience may help him and in the next stage, let's say, of the war, to help the army and the country. But in general, I believe it's not the time to try to find out the things which is not existing. The head of army and a nation, our President Zelensky, he makes it, so it's a time of war. We accept it, we agree with that, and we go forward. And I believe it will work for the best for our country, for cooperation with the United States. I believe the Umerov, as I know, he has some experience in the personal context as well, in different countries, which may help him as well in his experience. So that's it. We go fight for our country.
So there you have it. And that guy knows. That's coming straight out of Ukraine tonight. I can tell you that right now, 9:38 p.m. Eastern, 4:38 a.m. in Ukraine and the Moscow region. Right now, there are explosions in Kaluga. I'll show you where this is at. Let's go here. Here's Ukraine. Come out, just go out of Chernihiv northeast. You get into the Kaluga region, and then you come to the Moscow region. So there are explosions right now, significant ones in Kaluga and Moscow region, and the Vnukovo airport is closed right now. So 4:30 in the morning. And many people go or ask, I always read where those airports close in the middle of the night. Well, unlike, the United States, unless it's a really, really major airport, if you live in other places and hit regional airports, the flights not during the night. But in Europe, flights run in Russia. They're 24/7. You could take off at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. The air traffic stays the same because there's so many international flights. So that's what's happening right now. Right this minute. Now, let's jump down to the big news of the day. This was the meeting day in Sochi. Maybe you're wondering where Sochi is. Sochi is, I'll show you, Russian mainland, and we'll use this map. So here's the occupied region, and then Crimea, and then you come right down the coast. Folks, it's not far from Crimea. Sochi is right here, right on the coast in the mountains, beautiful there on the Black Sea. So this is where they met. Of course, Turkey's right here, and Moscow, very short travel for both of those guys on planes. But they met in Sochi, and that's the place where the Olympics was. Remember? Sochi. That's where it's at. What happened? I've got it in the marker for you there. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. What do we get from this big meeting today? Well, I'm going to prove it to you what I think is accurate. First of all, let's just look at this picture. This is a dictator who's dropping missiles on innocent people. And Erdogan's going to his country and meeting in his country. Definitely subservient in his behavior. The handshake, And just wait till I read you Erdogan's tweet in just a moment. Just now, this particular video I'm going to share with you now, I did not translate. And the reason being is a lot of it is just like mumbling. I can't understand it. So there's no reason. I really just want you to watch the body language here and the interaction. And I want you to look for this. The very end of the video. Look for this. So you're not going to understand. It's going through double translators in Turkish and Russian. It's hard to understand, but just watch the action. This is when the meeting was over and Erdogan's going to get in his car and leave Putin.
İyi yolculuklar diliyorum.
Большое спасибо за все.
Temas halinde olalım.
Самое кратчайшее время, что у вас все. Спасибо.
Teşekkür ediyorum. Çok teşekkür ederim.
Счастливой дороги.
İyi yolculuklar diliyorum.
I can tell you, Putin, they're saying, thank you for coming, my dear friend. This was good.
Футболиста, я обязательно сообщу ему имя, фамилию.
Если мы что-то можем сделать, собираем.
Buyurunuz tabii ki. İlitiniz.
Я забыл Ибрагима спросить,
İlgileniriz.
обязательно передам.
Договорились.
Anlaştık.
Будем в контакте.
İyi
Счастливой
yolculuklar.
дороги.
Temas halinde olalım.
He said, we'll see you again. Safe travels. Erdogan gets in the car and watch his little wave here. Watch the back window. Here it comes. There's his wave. Bye-bye. You say, do you take a lot from that? Are you kidding me? You remember when American presidents were bowing down to a foreign heads of state? Listen, we can be respectful, but we're not bowing down, and definitely not going to be. See you later. Come on. I'm telling you, this handshake right here spoke volumes today. Now, what happened? Well, Putin's statement here is this, and then I'm going to play you a video. This is a quote from Putin. We will be ready to return to the Green Deal after the parties agree to, and I put in bold for you, our terms. Everybody make sure you read that. We'll be ready to return to the Green Deal after the parties agree to our terms. The visible results of the meeting, the construction. Now listen to this. This is what come out of this meeting. Nothing about the Green Deal. Zero. What come out of this meeting? For grain to happen, it's our terms. Secondly, a construction of a nuclear power plant and a gas terminal in Turkey by the Russians. Also, Russians are going to open an office of interest in northern Cyprus, which is controlled by Turkey. How's that for standing strong and trying to cripple them economically? No, we're just bring you guys here and build a nuclear power plant and build a gas terminal. Make sure you pay taxes to Moscow so we can continue to fund the war. Here is Putin speaking. Regarding the situation around Ukraine, naturally, the so-called Black Sea initiative to export grain from Ukrainian ports was also discussed on July 18th. Mr. President Erdogan paid considerable attention to this. And as I've said many times, we were simply forced to make this decision. I mean, Russia was forced because Western countries blocked and continue to block the implementation of the grain deal in terms of ensuring access of Russian agriculture producers to world markets. So there you have what Putin's saying. Now, let's see here. Yeah, I see Nathan was liking this stuff on Erdogan. And Ricochet, you are right. There were some translation mistakes today between the guys doing that and used some wrong words, including war. Steven's feeling ill. Yeah, Putin's on the steps after it's going, Saka, that's exactly what's happening. JDO, you are 100% correct. The Turkish lira is destroyed. The Turkish economy's destroyed. But, sir, my friend, that plays right into the Putin narrative. Are you struggling with your economy? What's the West doing for you? Think about it, folks. What's the West doing for you? We'll partner with you. We'll come build your plants. We'll come invest in your economy. That's what happens. It's kind of crazy, guys. Kind of crazy. Erdogan. You know what? I don't even want to show you this. Erdogan, after the meetings, put a tweet out. Go to Twitter. You can see it yourself. Go look. He put a tweet out. What does it say? Well, I had it translated today. I can't read that on the left, but that's the president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, however that's pronounced. And then at the bottom, you see Turkish flag, the Russian flag. And then on the right, the translation of what's written there. And this is perfect translation. Today, the president of Russia, my dear friend, and I discussed many things. Trade, energy, agriculture, tourism, economy, and finances are the main ones. We want to strengthen our multi-dimensional business cooperation. That is the president of Turkey, who has said himself, I want to be the moderator between Putin and Zelensky. Turkey can do it. Turkey can end this war. Let me moderate. Let me tell the world. Let me tell the Ukrainians. Let me tell the Russians. I'll bring it into this. Let me negotiate it. Today, the president of Russia, my dear friend, and I discussed many things. Yeah, how can a country like that be in NATO? Because NATO stands for no army to offer. Mark McLaren. It's just, folks, this is reality. That's why the title of the program tonight, and if I go here, you'll see, I'll give you my desktop view real quick. That's my thumbnail. The truth about the war in Ukraine is that handshake right there. Right there. People say, well, they're presidents. They've got to shake hands. They've got to do all of that. No, they don't. That's not how it works in a war. You can be respectful, but man, you can't be tweeting, my dear friend. We're discussing many things. Come build in my nation. And then expect Ukraine to allow you to be a moderator, to help bring an end to this war. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. King Raccoon. I love that picture right there, man. That's beautiful. All right. So that's Erdogan. Now, just to make it a little more interesting, and I'm going to take you guys to something now that's going to blow you away. Tonight, you're going to get blown away. So, there is the Eastern Economic Forum happening in Vladivostok, Russia, September 10th through the 13th. Putin will be there, and he will make a speech to that economic forum, and that's the Eastern Economic Forum. Additionally, it is not confirmed yet, but I will find out and let you know. But Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin will personally meet. Remember, we already know North Korea's shipping stuff. Then the second wave was the documents coming out where they're coming into some agreements. Of course, North Korea ships munitions, Russia ships technology. That's the way it works, folks. Why do you think all these missiles have been being fired out of North Korea for the last couple of weeks? This is all a part of the big picture here with this axis of evil. So, Kim Jong-un is coming to Russia. Most are thinking it's going to happen here between September the 10th and 13th in Vladivostok when Putin comes over, because it is a long way from North Korea to Moscow. So Vladivostok's right on the North Korean border there. So that's the thought. Now, what is happening at this economic forum? I want to take you here. So this is actually the website for the 2023 Economic Forum. And you need to hang on for a couple of minutes to read what I'm getting ready to show you. I've put the website into English, and they have a AI chat bot. I was typing with it, having some fun earlier, and it'll answer your questions. It's crazy. Of course, Vladimir Putin, if you scroll down, who's first? So let's just analyze for a minute. There's Putin. Dear friends, I greet you as this gets underway. Da da da da. Here's their partners, whatever. What I want to get to is the program. Typically about 60 nations attend this. Your major ones are going to be China, India, Mongolia, all the Southeastern Asian nations. So 3 days. Just bear with me a second and listen to this. Education, the needs of the future, and it tells who the speakers are. And all the speakers are either from Russia or China. There's Yu Maizhou, okay? Oil and gas refining. Economic growth, forget it. National Spatial Data System. Listen, just hang on. An open Far East in the world economy, achievements and future plans. Russia and ASEAN. School pupils and standing together with the country. Listen to that. School pupils and students standing together with the country. Of course, you already know that Russia, they're indoctrinating their high schoolers right now. They're doing military training. They're dressing in the military uniforms. I've showed so many videos of that. New logistics in the Far East, the white swan of the Russian economy. Chinese business in Russia, prospects for further growth. And look what it says right here. The last year and a half has accelerated the trends of changes in the economic landscape of Russia and its further focus on the leading Eastern economies. Listen, I shared so many times, the West can sanction until the cows come home. All they're going to do is go east and south. They're going to go to Africa, going to go to China, going to go to India, going to go to Thailand. They're going to go to Mongolia, everywhere. This is what's going to happen. It's happening right in front of our eyes. Digital solutions for domestic and international logistics. Northern delivery systems. That's talking about Northern Russia. International social dialogue. Digital environment. Agro and biotechnology. How to feed 8 billion people. We're going to save the world. Financial sustainability of regions and municipalities. Look at this. The cultural code of Russian-Chinese investment cooperation. The Northern Sea Route for global growth. The Far East, the path to waste recycling and a circular economy. The challenges of the Eastern Branch accelerating transnational cooperation. Eurasian Agro Express, new opportunities for trade in Asia. Unmanned systems, talking about robotics. AI, evolution or a threat to humanity. From molecule to product, development of raw materials. Energy for growth, supplying small businesses in the Far East. Protecting the population at the basis of socio-cultural development in Russia. Russian car industry in search of a new identity. No place like home, appeal of the regions for young people. Climate business objectives. Arctic shipping. The role of closed cities in Russia's long-term sustainable development. What closed cities are? Russia has many cities that are closed. They build these cities just for workers. And I know it dates back to the Soviet Union, but they still do it, especially in the East, where they have so much wealth in natural resources. They'll build a city, they'll close it down, and it'll be full of workers. That's what we're talking about there. Inbound tourism. Look at this. challenges and opportunities in a new reality. That's called the war in Ukraine and the sanctions of the West. SCO and EU, climate agenda, common goals. What's next? Youth entrepreneurship. Just hang on a second. Sustainable development, state and business. Build bigger, better, and more beautiful. Talking about housing. Global challenges of the green agenda. Technological development in Russia, shifting the focus from catching up to overtaking. International arbitration. The Far East concession, modern infrastructure for Far Eastern cities, protect the planet, the global system of drug safety, support and development for SMEs in the Russia-Asia economic cooperation, ensuring the safe movement of capital, which is money, the creative economy, Russia's new economic driver. Look here, Russia's islands, unique opportunity for partnership, islands, Ruski Island and the Kurils. Kurils, Japanese, sport in the Far East, sanctions. Look at this. I can't make this stuff up. Yeah, you're right, Russ. I'm reading the chat too. It does sound like Chat GPT wrote that out. King Raccoon. Dude, the defense minister has been kicked, knew some of what was going on. He won't be allowed in UK. Of course, he knew some of what was going on, and he was working to stop it. Just couldn't. That's the truth. I have a friend that knows him very, very well. He's a good guy. Now, if he's allowed in the UK or not, I don't know, but I'm telling you, he's not a criminal, 100%. Sanctions as an opportunity for development. Remember, for a year and a half, sanctions. Is it affecting them? Of course. But are they going to use it to their advantage? Bloop. Of course they are. It's crazy. Greater Eurasia, drivers for the formation of an alternative international monetary and financial system. It's BRICS, folks. Discovering the Far East, tiger and leopard tails. The evolution of preferential regimes in Russia. Towards a common future, what social and cultural business initiatives await in the East? Priority for healthcare development, higher education, how will Russia look tomorrow? The ocean, fishing and consumption. A new, look at here. A new political and economic model of the world. Let me read this to you. The pandemic, new conflicts, Ukraine, long-term socio-economic trends, sanctions, are resulting in a new global outlook. The model of the new world is still multi-directional, filled with international contradictions, instability, and immaturity, but is radically different from the world of the late 20th and early 21st century. The geographical drivers of this new model include Pacific Asia, Eurasia, Russia, including Russia, and African countries. Right, what we've been telling you guys for months. Women in the humanitarian economic development, scientific diplomacy in Asia, returning home, how to have administrative districts, a new workforce for the new economy. It's like I'm reading a Soviet textbook. Supporting and protecting business in the digital sphere, forest, how to manage that, new image of the Far East, priorities for developments of universities, rental homes, a comfortable flat for every specialist. Where's the Politburo? They're coming. Maritime logistics, advanced Russian technologies to ensure technological sovereignty and development. Now, this is where it gets good. You say, well, it's already been good. Yeah, it gets even better. Russia, India has its own session, 10 to 11:30, September the 12th. New geopolitical realities lend particular importance to relations with reliable partners, which India certainly is. Trade between India and Russia exceeded USD 35 billion in 2022, an increase of 250% over 2021. due primarily to fuel and energy exports. We told you guys, when the oil couldn't come west, it went east. India's been buying it hand over fist. Russia, India. Protected business, the world ocean, global opportunities for the Russian fleet. Of course, right now they're flying under different flags. That's the shipping fleet, not a military fleet. Civil society. We're going to get to the China. Hold on. Territorial planning. Oh, hey, right here. BRICS, EU and BRICS, role in shaping a new multipolar world. Folks, they are trying to move to a new world order, and the West has no clue what they're wanting to do here. I know some do. Michael McFaul knows. Michael McFaul, he's a Democrat, but man, when it comes to Russia, this cat knows. Rail opportunities, logistics, a consolidated airline for the Far East. We're just going to make everything state. Look here. Russia, China has the afternoon session. Trade between Russia and China increased by 40.6% in the first half of 2023 compared to the same period in 2022. Talks about the joint prosperity and the models and da-da-da-da-da. Folks, this is what's happening. And then they have another one, Crystals of Growth. Can you believe this? Russia, Mongolia. See, don't forget these nations. Mongolia loaded with resources, and Russia will exploit it. So this is what we see happening right here and right in front of our face. So I took a few minutes to do that. I hope you guys enjoyed looking through that, but that is coming up the 10th through the 13th. Pope, last couple of things, came out and once again tried to defend himself. And I couldn't blow it up anymore. You wouldn't be able to see it. But basically that says up there in Ukrainian, the rhetoric of the Pope has been going on since the war began and all that jazz, not just his speech in St. Petersburg. And then the Ukrainians listed every negative comment since the war began. That's what that list is, curling back and forth, that the Pope has stated, even unknowingly, against Ukraine since the war began, because he came out after that video in St. Petersburg and says, listen, I didn't mean it the way y'all took it, but the Ukraine comes back and says, look at this list. This agenda made to distract, slow down reactions, divide and conquer 100%. And Katahul, welcome to you, my friend. Getting greetings from West Berlin. So tired of them Russians. Yes, sir. I know. And I know that there are certain days you guys there in Berlin have a pretty interesting time when they do the Russian parade with their cars and their flags. I've covered that a little bit. Come on, Pope, get your head in the game. Yeah, it's brother, King Raccoon, you get this.
Slava Ukraini.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. It should have never gotten to this point. And NATO should have rolled in. Once this began and we saw where it was going, they should have. They should roll in right now. Because I promise you guys, he's not going to stop. This is exactly where Putin wants it. Exactly. He wants it slow. He wants the deflection. He wants the time for this move toward the east. There's another go back here. Far East, my home is my castle. People who change the world, new oil, industrial. Here we go. I got to it. Key session. A global alternative to Western dominance, the contours of the future. That'll be the 13th of September, 12:30 to 2 o'clock, by the way. Building B, level 6. This is exactly what they're doing. But the deflection of the war in Ukraine gives time while the world is focused and watching, and NATO's doing their talk, America's doing what we do, whatever it is, and it's just dragging on. That gives time for Russia to roll into Africa strong, gives time for them to go east, because the world's looking at what's going on, and he doesn't care. Now, I've also told you guys that this is a holy war, little h, from the beginning. The church and Christian themes are scattered all throughout this war. Putin's always quoting the righteousness of what they're doing. I want to share with you a clip I translated where the high priest of Rostov-on-Don is the city outside of Donetsk region. Just in case you guys are here new and you do not know what Rostov is, here's Donetsk, Dnipro, Donetsk, and you come straight out of Ukraine, straight over east from Mariupol. This is Rostov. This is the city right here, Rostov, where when the Wagner was doing their rebellion, this is the city they went to flex their muscles. This is where it was looking like if there's going to be some kind of civil activity, it was going to happen in Rostov. And yeah, little skirmishes, little things here and there, but it was all a show as we know. But that's the city. So now I want you to pay attention to what was on Russian TV today. I'm going to cut to this and I'm going to pause it for a second. And of course, so first of all, I want you to look up in the top right. You see Rossiya 24. This is one of the main state major channels. Everybody's seeing it. The next thing you'll see is below that. You see, looks like a DOH. That says Don, which is Rostov on Don. So this is the priest, the top dog there over Rostov-on-Don, and he is telling the Russian people, please pay attention to this. I try to teach you guys culture so you understand why this is happening. He's teaching and spewing that the reason Wagner did not revolt is because the Mother of God did a miracle. Are you ready? And this is what Russians all over Russia will see. All part of the timing, folks. Listen, here it is. This time I'll play it. Let it roll.
And of course, we associate many events, including some things that happened recently, such as in June, with the intercession of the Mother of God. What do you mean? I mean June the 24th. With the intercession of the Mother of God, after we prayed and served icons, a few hours later, those guys began to leave the city of Rostov, and they left the city unharmed. Okay, yeah. That's why we always attribute the fact that we live quite calmly to the presidency of the Mother of God in cooperation with the efforts of our military, of course.
We live in peace because we live subservient to the Mother of God, who works with our military, of course. Millions and millions and millions of Russians saw that today. That's how they do it. Been trying to communicate that from day one. So, between the Economic Forum and the priest of Rostov, quite an education tonight. Finally, last couple of things. This is Eric Mose, Norwegian judge. He's retired from his judicial career, currently serving as the chair of the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine for the United Nations. He ruled today, or stated today, that there's no signs of genocide. maybe next time I'm in Ukraine, I will invite him and take him to the front with me and Zhenya. It's just, listen, this is how it's working, folks. This plays right into Putin's hands. Oh yeah, no genocide. I don't see anything there. There's over 100,000 recorded war crimes. The latest numbers I see coming out of Mariupol is potentially up to 100,000 Ukrainians were killed in Mariupol alone. And I believe when this is all said and done, that's going to be the number. So this is, pay attention, serving as the chair of the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine for the United Nations. The United Nations put him in the chair. That's his real picture in front of the UN backdrop there. No sign of it. No genocide. Finally, half marathon in Kiev. You see that young girl there and little boy. I want to tell you their story for a moment before we get out of here tonight. As you can see, she's a double amputee. Her mother also a double amputee. And the little boy's her brother. He was okay. But the mother and the daughter lost all their legs in an attack on their home. But, there's no genocide. We're not trying to wipe these people off the planet, but they lost their legs today in Kiev, and that is right downtown Kiev, little cobblestone streets. There was a half marathon for people with prosthetics from the war. Many walked it or walked a portion of it, of course, not unable to do a half marathon, but 2,000 Ukrainians who have lost limbs participated in this marathon today in Kiev. Think about that for a moment. 2,000 civilians who've lost limbs participated in this marathon. Ukraine put out the numbers with the marathon that they have record of over 20,000 of Ukrainian citizens, not military, citizens who have lost some appendage, an arm, a hand, a leg, a foot, a finger. 20,000 people. This marathon should have been on every news channel. Nobody in the world talks about this stuff. That's it. And Carl, you were right. UN explains it all. So we try to tell you what the truth, and that's what happened in Kiev today. I like ending on a good story. And that right there, the little brother, you can see he's running on his phone, and he said, I'm running with my sister to cheer her on. I mean, come on. It doesn't get any better than that. So thank you, guys. This is day 558. I'll check the air raid map real quick. We're clear there, and we're clear there. Moscow and Kaluga, calm down. We're all good. That's where we're at. Thanks, folks. Thanks for being here. You completely updated as of 10:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, whatever time it is, wherever you're at, all over the world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for continuing to like and do all the things that you do. We couldn't do it without you. Next update Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Unless something happens major in between now and then. And of course, we'll pop on live. Be blessed, and we'll see you in a couple of days, if not before. Appreciate you all. Good night.
Слава Україні!